Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. We have got so much stuff to catch up on. It's Champions League time again. We are looking to get out of the league phase for the fourth season in a row. We've got 3 teams in the Europa League this time. We've got big clubs trying to unsettle our biggest players. And also we had something absolutely monumental happen for Icelandic football last season. Yeah, hi everybody, welcome to today's episode. We've got a Champions League game today against Feyenoord. I know we've seen us play them before, but this time, league phase, we're on 9 points. We're looking to secure our space into the next round. It was once again a nice, comfortable league win, with us finishing clear of Breither in second, HK in third, Hafnarfjörður in fourth, and Vala getting back into the European spots after missing out last season. We did win a little pre-season cup, the Dale Derbycar Carla, 1-0 against Hafnarfjörður, but we did lose in the Community Shield against Breither after some pretty appalling playing from some of our players. Both their goals came from pass backs to our keeper. The Martin Babanov one, under hit pass back, he ran through, chipped the goalkeeper, he's actually on loan from us. And then this one, we're literally just closing out to go to penalties. Duchin Celik wins the ball by the byline, goes to play it back to our keeper, and he just gets there. Armel Matondo just gets there first. And then as for the Mjölnir, essentially the FA Cup, we actually got knocked out by Fram in the semi-final 2-0. Pretty unlucky, I would say, given the sort of state of the game, but a couple of underperformances from some of our key players really cost us in this. And it was then Breither who retained the FA Cup, we'll call it that, for the second year now. We've actually only won it once in the last 4 years, with HK, us, and then 2 for Breither. Now, you will remember last year that after we got knocked out by Milan, HK got through against Red Bull Salzburg, and they drew Roma, and we didn't think they were going to do too well. And then when they lost 2-1 at home, we thought, yeah, just a bit too big for them. Until they went to Rome, and on loan Daniel Björnsson from us scored a trick. And even a Abaronki own goal was not enough to help Roma out, and HK went through after knocking out Roma 4-3 on aggregate. And then they drew Feyenoord, who had knocked us out only the year before in the Champions League. And when they lost 1-0 at home after having had 2 players sent off, things weren't looking great. But I thought, you know what, 1-0 away from home with 9 men, who knows what they can do at home. But obviously they were going to be missing Björnsson and Mellin. And it was heartbreak, with 2 goals in extra time for Feyenoord, sending HK crashing out at the quarterfinal stage of the Europa League. Meanwhile, this is where things get really interesting. So it was Hafnarfjörður, who we said would play in Sparta Prague in the round of 16 in the Conference League, and they drew 0-0 away from home in the first leg, before comfortably getting the job done at home with a nice 2-0 win. That then saw them go to current real-life reigning champions of the Conference League, Olympiacos, and winning 1-0 in Greece, and then booking their place in the semi-final with a 1-0 win at home, where they would face tough opposition in Twente, a team they'd already played before and beaten, and they drew 0-0 away from home. Before Daniel Shellhead, on loan from us, sent them through with an extra time winner to get an Icelandic team to the final of a European competition for the first time in the save. But that's where the dream ended. They got smashed 5-1 by Brighton, and they actually took the lead through an own goal, and we thought, surely not. But it was just a little bit too much. And towards the end, these 2 goals, Hafnarfjörður were just I think they were just completely deflated, exhausted, done in. And they got these 2 goals right towards the end. Interesting to see Pedro Zabala now playing for Brighton, who obviously, for those of you who don't remember, we signed, and we ended up selling him to Man City a few years ago. He's turned into a really decent player, and he's worth, 60 to 90 million, fair play to him. Now, just for the sake of time, I'm just going to show you kind of how the teams have done this year. So Hafnarfjörður, they are in the Europa League phase. As you can see, they've not had a great deal of good fortune in the actual league phase itself. They got past Rinski Mostar, Ostende, and they actually got past Dortmund, beating them 1-0 at home to see them through. But then draws against Trabzonspor, defeats to Victoria de Guimarães, draws with Maribor, draws with Napoli, perfectly respectable draw against Napoli, to be fair, to come down from 2-0 down, but then drawing with Hibernian 2-2, and then they've just lost to Stour 2-1, and then they got Rapid Wien and Man United to go, and it's really not looking good for them to go through. They've just not been able to get a win, and that's really cost them. Meanwhile, Breither, they got past Westerlo 7-0, which is absolutely fantastic in the Europa League playoff. And then they have had draws against Brighton 2-2, a narrow defeat to Genoa 3-2, a draw with Trabzonspor, smashing past Varbergs of Sweden 5-1, getting a 1-1 draw at home to Maribor, which really I think they should really have been looking to win, and then they just lost at home to Nice 2-1. But that draw with Maribor I think is really going to cost them, to be honest with you, just because they're currently sat just outside. And with, who knows, if they can get results against Vennesvesta and Lech Poznan, maybe, but I don't know. They're both away from home and it could be quite tough for them. Meanwhile, it was HK who went in at the Champions League third qualifying round. I say came second and actually managed to win 1-0 at home to Leipzig before losing 4-2 due to a very late penalty, which was a bit of a shame, really. But at this point, it was 3-3 when they conceded that 88th-minute penalty. You'll notice Carlos Ribeiro at Leipzig. He is someone we will obviously come on to in a minute. And then they've also played Rapid Wien. They drew 2-2, a game that they'll be really frustrated to have conceded that 95th-minute penalty, because they went straight in at the Europa League phase as well. This is the third team in the Europa League. Then beat Karabag 3-1, Hibs 2-1, before losing to Man United and then Ran. But they've just beaten Vitória de Guimarães 1-0, and they are currently sat. This is the current state of play in the Europa League. HK are in 13th, as good as 3 on 10 points. Breither on 6 points. Like I said, I think if they can get wins against Poznan and Vennesvesta, then great. But I mean, realistically, they need one win from them, preferably one win and a draw, I think, to really make sure that they are through. There's just a couple too many teams on 6 points here, which I think could potentially cost them. Meanwhile, Hafnarfjordur, way down on 4 points, realistically need 2 wins, I think, to have any chance of getting through. And I just can't see them getting that, especially when they've got to play Man United. And then just to round things off with the last team that's competing in Europe, and that was Bandalang Akranes. They lost 4-0 at home to Donetsk Skreda. But then they actually managed to win 3-0 away, and it was nearly an epic comeback. But yeah, just not meant to be. Who knows? They're not going to be in Europe next year. They actually ended up finishing the bottom half, so they actually ended up playing in the relegation playoff, playoff group. They were never in danger of going down, but obviously after last year they would have hoped to have sort of built on that. But who knows? Good little experience for them. They would have got a little bit of money from it, a little bit of reputation gain. So who knows? Now, as for us, obviously after we got knocked out by Milan, we went straight in at the Champions League phase this time, and we had a really tough start, losing 2-0 away at Newcastle. As you can see, a 78th-minute penalty finally broke the deadlock, and they scored not long after that. Arsenal, again, it was down to a penalty for them to take the lead, and then a Jose Couto second goal after a little bit of a giveaway in the midfield from us in a turnover. And then we went and smashed Anderlecht 4-0. Evan Villome getting a hat-trick. He is the guy who you may remember we signed last year. And yeah, he's been fantastic out on that right-hand side. And then we beat Leipzig 3-1 away from home. You'll notice we've got AKUREYRI. Again, we'll come on to that in a minute. Before we then lost away from home against Southampton. Now, this was a game we were banking on getting some points from. So it was really, really disappointing to lose this, because we got some tough games coming up still as well. But we needn't stress too much, as we played PSG at home in Iceland and beat them 1-0. And you know what? It wasn't like it was a smash and grab. We gave as good as we got. And it was Moise Vlad-Paul off the bench. He's been a little bit out of form still, but he came up clutch, got the winner, and we held on for a priceless and incredible 1-0 win against the French giants of PSG. Now, as I said, today we're playing against Feyenoord. We're currently sat on 9 points, and if we can get a win here, then, good chance then if we can beat Shakhtar to actually finish in the top half of that playoff group. Now, there's been a lot of transfer dealings this year. As you can see, 35 in, 36.5 out. I'm mainly just going to touch on the main ones. There's been a lot of loan farm signings, a lot of players who've gone out on loan. So we'll sort of just deal on the main out and the main ins. And probably actually the first main out in the end was Mats Lerver, who been with us for a very long time, 9 seasons, as you can see. Very solid, reliable player, 47 goals, 163 league appearances. But we signed him for free from Mulder, and Vancouver Whitecaps came in with a bid for him, and he was quite happy to go and sort of seek a new challenge. Basically, at the age of 28, he wasn't going to get any better. We have moved on from him. We have players in his position who are much better technically, attributes-wise. So to be able to get 1.2 million for him just seemed like too good a deal to turn down at this stage. In a similar vein, Patrick Wallen, who we'd signed for free, from Malmö. We were looking to kind of move him on at the age of 31. We didn't really feel like we had the room to basically fit him in to our squad with some of the other strikers who we were bringing through. So we managed to get 1.1 million for him from Copenhagen, and yeah, brilliant bit of business. Free 2 years, off he goes for a nice easy profit. We made a slight loss on Milos Galic, but with some of the other defenders we had coming in and coming through, it didn't really make sense to keep him at the expense of some of the others. So we sold him back to Italy, where he went to Hellas Verona for 2.6 mil. We had a similar sort of logic with Peter Breyer, free signing from Leipzig, and we sold him to Holstein Kiel for 1.8 mil. Mikkel Kim Bendiksen was a frustrating one. We really did not want to sell him. He was young, he was developing nicely. He counted as homegrown because he'd been with us since he was like 16, 17. But basically, he kept coming to us for game time because he wanted to be an important player, and we tried to get him to accept being a regular starter or a squad player. He just wouldn't have it. But then when we changed formation, we basically needed to retrain him to play as a DM. So in that Segundo Volante role really is kind of what we were looking at. So we weren't playing him as much because he wasn't quite there yet. We tried to sort of feed him in, get him a bit more game time once he started to get a bit more proficiency at it. But then he got injured. And then he basically came to us saying, listen, I've been asking for more game time. You're not giving it to me. There's nothing you can do that's going to change my mind now. I really want to go. I can't trust you, basically. So we ended up having to sell him for 3 million to Porto. We did make a profit on him, and we do have a percentage of that. There are bigger clubs sniffing around for him, but I'm kind of glad he's gone to Porto, because if he continues to develop, the chances are he'll move on to one of the bigger clubs that were sniffing around, like Liverpool. They bid from a couple of times, but Porto was the one who actually gave us a bid that we felt was close to his value. So hopefully he'll develop there, and he'll move on to a bigger club, and we'll get a portion of that. And then the next big signing, and arguably our biggest sale to date, was Carlos Ribeiro, constantly getting bids over the summer for clubs, and he was really adamant he wanted to leave. In the end, RB Leipzig came in, and we managed to negotiate them up to 23 million, which, considering we'd signed him, I think, for like 9 million, and then working up to 30 million in add-ons, we were really happy with that profit. Nice, cool 10 mil. To be fair to him, he's done really, really well out there, but we had the last laugh after we beat them in the Champions League. We did finally sell Daniel Mbala. The consistency in the big match issue for me became really problematic, and again, we have better players in his position now, and we managed to get 4.6 mil for him. Really, really happy with that, to get that business done, because I think we signed him for 155,000, so absolutely brilliant profit on him. He'd been a good player for us, but we'd really sort of progressed past him. Now we're going to come on to the ins. Obviously, there's some players here that we already knew about. Milan Hambalek, Tomer Ben-Haim, and Evan Vallone we touched on last time. I think we'd also touched on Fernando Gutierrez, who has been pretty decent for us since he's joined. Happy to be a squad player, which is perfect because we're kind of just trying to drip him in while he works on some of these things, like his concentration and stuff. But his finishing and his pace have been absolutely brilliant, and we've got good hopes for him. The next one, which we were absolutely made up to do, kind of in a similar vein of Fernando Gutierrez in terms of attributes, was Erwin Atanasio coming in from Sporting Club de Portugal. Brought him on a loan deal because he wasn't interested in the transfer at first, but we had an option to buy for 875k, which when we basically signed someone who's quite similar attributes-wise for that Gutierrez for like 4 times less or something like that, 4 or 5 times less. Absolutely brilliant bit of business. We have been actually retraining him to play as the attacking midfielder. Been working on his passing, and just someone who, with that finishing, we find that our attacking midfielders gets in and around the box quite a bit. So having that high finishing is brilliant. And the other main signing that we've actually sort of really spent any money on was Sasha Bersha coming in from Osijek in Croatia. Basically just cover on that right-hand side for the loan, because Alexandro, who he brought in on loan, was just not good. Well, he was okay, just not good enough, really. We brought him in, and once we'd had a bit of a look at him, he was like, no, he's just not it. And it's that passing, really, which we really want for him to have, and he's got that in spades. So he's just working on that advanced playmaker role, which, like I said, with Vallone has been absolutely brilliant. And then the last notable deal we did was Claudio Echeverri came up as a free signing, and we thought, you know what, yeah, he may not quite like big matches, but technically he's absolutely fantastic, and he's just someone to bring in and give us a little bit of quality when it's needed. He's down as a regular starter, but we'll probably try and chip him down to squad player. Also blew my mind that he's just got random makeshift right back. But yeah, he's only here till the end of October. We're going to let him leave after that, I think. He does have an extension clause in his contract if he plays like 15 league games, but I can't see him getting that. So yeah, just someone just to maybe give us a little bit of extra something in the middle of the park, and he can play on the right and the left as well as in behind. So yeah, just someone who can hopefully potentially unlock a game for us when we really need it in sort of the dying embers of a game. Loan form currently sat at 35. We did have it up to 60 last season, but we've had a couple of players come back. Paul Hall's finally come back from Starn, and I don't know why they didn't want to extend his deal. He's been absolutely phenomenal for them with 65 league goals and 102 appearances, but they didn't want to extend, so he's back, and we're going to try and get him back out into Iceland. Hopefully we can do that. A couple of these other players were out on loan. They just didn't have them renewed, which was, I think, partly due to the fact that their clubs went down. So Ramsvik, Vetley and Fosmo were all at relegated clubs, I think. Well, Vetley and Fosmo definitely were. I can't remember if Ramsvik was, but I suspect that's why. So we'll be looking to get them back out into the division come February. The reason why it's a little bit lower is actually because some of the players that we had out on loan have actually signed for their clubs permanently now. Meanwhile, we ended up using the new tactic pretty much all the time last season, and it worked pretty nicely, to be honest with you. Obviously, we won the league. Shame about the cups, but I think that wasn't completely just down to the tactic not working. That was very much a personnel thing. Vlad Paul had a semi-decent season, but he did kind of taper off a little bit towards the end. But that goal against PSG more than made up for that. And he is wanted by clubs, some big clubs like City, United, etc. But we're playing hardball still. We want a lot of money for him if he's going to go. And by that, I mean, we're looking at sort of 10 to 12 mil. That is a lot for us still at this stage. Ronaldo is also wanted. He had an absolutely brilliant season last year, 7.41 average match rating with 15 goals and 11 assists in all competitions for him, mainly playing at number 10. Milan Hambalek is also wanted. You remember we signed him from Southampton to play on the left wing. He had a slow start to the season, a couple of poor match ratings in his first few games, but then weighed in with 12 assists, 5 goals in the league, 8 and 17 in all comps with an average rating of 7.5. Meanwhile, after just one season, Evan Valome is also wanted by some big clubs as well as some Saudi clubs. And he got 12 goals and 12 assists in all competitions. Average rating actually in all comps of 7.37. Just the 5 and 6 in the league, but he has been phenomenal. Obviously, he got that hat-trick against Anderlecht and then also scored again against Leipzig. Jordan Hunt is another player who's wanted. 12 goals, 8 assists last season. Absolutely brilliant, but yeah, big club sniffing around for him. He has developed really nicely. He's still in U19. Playing in that Segundo Volante role, and yeah, we're again playing hardball over him. And it wouldn't be a roundup without touching on our man Alan Swaj, who got 13 goals in 16 league games last year. 7 of them were just starts, 9 off the bench, 18 goals in all competitions, 3 assists. And yeah, another fantastic season from him. Didn't play quite as much, and at the age of 32, we are starting to see he might potentially be on the decline now, which is a shame, but his contract does expire in October. I feel like I kind of just want to give him like another year just because, really, just purely for sentimentality reasons. He is good. He doesn't want much in terms of wages. And yeah, he's consistent, homegrown, etc. He ticks a lot of boxes. And then lastly, the main area we've sort of identified that we want to improve on is at defence, central defence. So Johnny Bakker Hansen, we've tried to train him to be a libero and he's just really not taken to it at all. Yeah, really struggling with that. So I feel like we can definitely do a lot better, and we will look to accept bids from him if they come in while we are trying to find someone to replace him. And we would arguably say the same for Tuchin Celik as well. There are bids coming in for him, but like lower than what we bought him for, and he's a lot better than he was when we signed him. So if he's going to go, it's going to have to be for decent money. Partway through last season, we did actually bring back Branislav Tufejic from, I think he was on loan at HK. He is wanted, but we are going to be looking to try and blood him in into the squad more this year. We have been training him to play as the inverted fullback on that left-hand side. And we did also bring back Jovicic from Breither, again, kind of because we actually needed a little bit of cover with a couple of players who've moved on. Yeah, unfortunately, in the end, we actually couldn't register him, but he has now counted towards homegrown, so we will be fine with that now. He has achieved that this year, homegrown status, so he will be able to go into the team. Meanwhile, we have got a few reinforcements coming in, which we like. We've got Krzysztof Krasilovsky coming in from Rakow Częstochowa. Now, he may actually potentially be a defensive star that we're looking for at the age of 19. He could definitely be that ball-playing defender and could also actually potentially turn into that libero. Especially with the signing Maximiliano Portela, although he does have Spanish nationality as well as Argentinian, coming in to basically probably end up being our new regista. His dribbling's not quite there yet, but I feel like everything else is, and we could probably develop that for him. I just want to see if it'll highlight the attributes for his role. Yeah, so basically he just needs to work on that dribbling. But yeah, he will potentially end up replacing Mahadzic, who has been very, very good, but there is interest in him as well. So it'll probably be in the summer we'll look to sell Mahadzic on. And then gearing up for the inevitable departure of Jordan Hunt. This is a guy we have found a while ago, and he is literally the perfect secondo volante for us, I think. Marking could do with a little bit of work, but with that finishing, he could be brilliant just arriving on the edge of that box late, but he can obviously play as a number 10 if needed. But Giordano Lissi is coming in on loan from Napoli. I don't think we have an option to buy. He doesn't want to sign for us permanently, but hopefully we can convince him to join us in the time while he's playing with us. Another player we're also really excited about is Santiago Coelho, Uruguayan, coming in from Nacional. Looks really, really good. And, you know, he will basically take over most likely if Ronaldo leaves, really. And another striker who just seemed too good to turn down, especially if we end up losing Vlad Paul, is Nahuel Rivero, coming in from Peñarol. Another foreigner, non-EU player, which could potentially prove to be a little bit problematic going forward. But he looked really, really good. Physically, he looks incredible. Off the ball, fantastic. Finishing, first touch, all brilliant. We can work on that bravery and that aggression a little bit. He could turn into a really, really good striker. But even as he is, I think he'll be still very good for us. Now, the game against Feyenoord, this is what we're looking at. Also, I forgot to touch on Bojan Spasojevic. He has been fantastic in that inverted wing-back slot, but he is wanted and he is unhappy. Like Bayern Munich and that have unsettled him. Problem is, a lot of clubs, I feel, are lowballing us. I'm hoping this isn't a symptom of player value dropping again, but I'm hoping things will improve. We are getting some decent bids in for some of our key stars now, but I'm not in a position to sell most of them because we can't replace them. The Champions League registration window ends at the start of February. Our new signings won't join until sort of towards the end of Feb. So we're not going to be able to play them. So if I sell Hunt, Ronaldo, Vlad Paul, etc., I can't replace them. It's basically the spine of our sort of midfield, especially if Spasojevic left as well and Belome. We'd just be absolutely screwed. So yeah, this is the team we're going to go with today for the game against Feyenoord. Could easily make a case for Hamberlecht to start, but Ben Haim was pretty good as well. So we're going to go with him to see what he can do. Vlad Paul, after the PSG performance, we're going to see if he can build on that, but we have got Gutierrez on the bench. With a few injuries, players unable to be registered and away and stuff. Oh, actually, Shaqiri, I didn't realize he was there. He can go in. We're a little bit light in terms of the full complement of subs, so we should still have enough to see us through. Tuchin Celik is injured. He's got the flu or something like that, so he's not quite ready to go. So we're going to play Ramirez as a libero and Tufezic on that left-hand side, which is kind of where we see him playing long-term anyway. Now, as well as basically guaranteeing us progression into the next round of the Champions League, it would also, as I said at the start of the video, it give us a massive boost to hopefully finishing in the top half of the playoffs. I don't think we're going to have enough about us to finish in the in the playoffs, in the top 8. I don't think we're going to have enough about us for that. But hopefully we can get something here which will give us a good chance of getting through. Raul Brinkman, I'm pretty sure he used to play for Breither. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he used to play for Breither. Not a brilliant... I wouldn't say he's a brilliant keeper for this level. It might be that we potentially look to shoot on sight, especially with players like Ronaldo having sort of semi-decent very decent long shots. And we did actually get to the Euros with Iceland as well. We did get knocked out. We lost narrowly to Denmark. I think it was 3-2. Who else did we have? I can't remember now. We had another narrow 1-0 loss. And beat Armenia 1-0 as well. It was either 1-0 or 2-1 we lost. But we beat Armenia. So we won 1. But then, I think we ended up coming bottom, actually. And then we also actually, because we got promoted in the Nations League. And we did actually stay up on the last sort of match week after beating Sweden to leapfrog them, and Sweden got relegated and we came third. Also, yeah, this is at home. The stadium is being expanded. The board came to us saying, do you want us to expand the stadium? I was like, yes. They're expanding it to about 20,000. And that's expected to be finished by the end of this year, 2041. Easy hands there from Chiapara. In terms of coefficients, we are losing a sort of relatively decent season. I think we're losing like a 11 or 12 point season or something like that, maybe even 13. And Denmark are losing like a 6-7 point season. So we're currently 8th and they're 9th. So it's very touch and go at the moment between us and them. They are knocking on the door to try and jump over us, basically. So it's going to be a bit touch and go, I think. So we're going to get a little bit more direct, because I feel like we're struggling to really get any sort of anything on the ball, really. I know going a bit more direct might seem a bit weird to that, but I feel like we're losing the ball quite a lot. And Vlad pulls in, and he hits the bar, but he taps in the rebound. All good. No VAR. Fantastic. 1-0. Self-assist. Those are rare. But yeah, pass from Ronali. Goes through. Hunt basically blocks him off. That ball hits the post, but reacts to it first. Taps it in. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, so it's basically between us and Denmark for that 8th spot. And we are just slowly starting to bring the gap down, because they were due to go above us. Just by virtue of the fact that the shift in the seasons that we're losing was quite high. It was like a 6.5 point swing or something between both seasons, which was just seeing them basically slingshot above us just because of that loss of that season. But hopefully we're starting to sort of claw it back a little bit. So yeah, and this, if we can hold on for a win here, this will obviously go some way to that. Copenhagen did lose on the Tuesday, and I didn't actually see how Michelin got on. But yeah, at the moment, coming up Millhouse, and as we saw, I think that's going to see us go up to 17th on 12 points, which as good as guarantees us our spot. It'd be incredibly unfortunate to not qualify at all with 12 points, basically as good as guarantees us that. And then going into the last game against Shakhtar, hopefully at home again, get a win, and that will see us hopefully finish in that sort of 8th to 14th slot, and hopefully get us a favourable draw going forwards. Although obviously in the past we've had Man City. Man City was when we actually did end up coming in the bottom half. Yeah, I think last year we came in the top half and then drew Milan anyway. Good block. I don't actually know how many fans are here today. Still somehow 13,000 fans. All of the... Maybe it's just the stands behind goal as what's being expanded, and that's where the sort of 2,000-3,000 are down, and they've all been crammed into the side stands. Okay, 1-0. I'm going to make some subs. Keep things fresh. So I'm going to bring on Echeverry for Ronali. Echeverry for Ronali, sorry. Might bring on Radwan. And I think we'll bring on Ambala. But yeah, so I know the videos have kind of like slipped to weekly at the moment with their releases, and it's just because I've been doing a lot of overtime. Some weeks I only had like one day off in the week, and I've just not had time to film, or the energy really to do sort of much recording. I have still been able to just sort of chip away, of an evening when I'm just sat watching the TV at the save to get to the good stuff, but I've just not been able to do it as much because I've been working so much more, and yeah, it has sort of basically I've just sort of been prioritising progressing the season as and when I can, rather than sort of filming little things. It means that we then have like episodes like this where we have a lot to catch up on, but you know what? I don't think that's too bad really. We get everything caught up on, and so far with 15 minutes to go now, looking good. I'm going to make some more changes now. We'll go to balanced, and we will drop the line slightly. Obviously, I can't see what's happening at the moment, so I'm hoping this isn't a final attack, which is going to end up being a goal. I'll bring on Jovicic, and I'm going to bring on Gutierrez for Vlad Ball. It looks like we're countering now, but we was offside. And then I'm going to just check all the opposition instructions are good. Spasiewicz can go a bit more defensive. Because they've made some changes, so I want to make sure everything is good. Oh, yeah. So far, looking quite comfy in the end. Hopefully I've not jinxed it. 85 minutes on the clock. Oh, Echeverri, the great pass. Gutierrez should seal it. It's inside of the post. Oh, man. That would have sealed the win. Way just burst through there so easily. It was a great pass from Echeverri as well. Win that. Yeah. Oh, come on, Jovicic. You gotta make it stick, man. You gotta make it stick. Good block. Radwan is wanted as well. He is someone who I would be prepared to sell. He is moaning about the fact that he's not being played at the important player status that he wants, but just because Mladic and Jovicic and Hunt, have been probably a little bit better and are a bit more natural in those sixes than he is. He's still a good player, but we're starting to get bids just slightly north of 10 mil now from Saudi clubs, and we signed him for about 9. I think it was. So if we can maybe get sort of 15 mil for him, I'd probably consider the sale, especially when we've got Lisi and what was his name? Putea, was it? Putea coming in? So yeah, I'll probably look to sell him between now and the deadline. I just want to get through these 2 games, and it will mean we'll be a little bit short for the next round, but it is what it is. Meanwhile, we can be very happy with that. A nice 1-0 win. It does see us secure a playoff spot, so we are guaranteed to go through into the next round now, which is absolutely brilliant. Also, we've got Mats Wiefer as our assistant manager, and he is developing absolutely nicely. Just a little nugget for anyone interested. Obviously, he's currently a Brighton player, and yeah, he's coming on really, really nicely actually for us. As that assistant. And oh dear, it looks like the journey is ending in the Europa League for Hafnarfjörður. They just got smashed 5-0 by Rapid Wien. Meanwhile, Breither did beat Cervena Zvezda 3-1. Sindri Helgason hat-trick. And HK, I just saw also beat Nordsjælland 4-0. So let's see what that means for the Europa League. We had Guerrero. Basically, all players on loan from us scored for HK. HK are guaranteed progression now. They are currently sat in 10th, and they could actually make the top 8. Which would be incredible. Breither are currently sat in 19th on 9 points. They would be incredibly unlucky now to not go through, but if they can get a draw in that last game against Lech Poznan, that should do them. HK, who are they playing? I can't remember who they've got last now. Freiburg. Where are Freiburg sat? Freiburg are 3rd, but yeah, who knows if they can get a result there. They might finish in the top 8, but yeah, Hafnarfjörður, dead and buried, no chance. And what that means after that round of games is that we have actually currently overhauled that difference that we're going to see from that loss of points. We're now currently due to start next season just on actually over a whole point more than Denmark, which is perfect. And as you can see, the following season, we're going to lose a 7.625 season, and the Netherlands are losing a 13-point season. So if we can really, really close the gap on them, we're currently due to have a better season than they are anyway. And if we can really close that up, we could potentially look to leapfrog them going into the 42-43 season, which would see us climb up to 7th. And that would just be beautiful. I think we're going to be hard pushed to beat that, to match that 17.7, maybe even hard push to get above a 15, to be honest with you. But as it stands, I'm hopeful that we're going to have 3 teams in European competitions going into the next lot of rounds, and hopefully we can build up some points. Aim to sort of maybe try and at least if we can match what we're losing, I think that'll be all right. I'd take that. But yeah, really good progress. Happy days. 4th time in a row now into the Champions League knockouts. Let's have it. Let's see if we can get into that top half and give ourselves a better chance of hopefully getting through the round of 16. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.